In this tutorial, I will show you how to add a folder and how to add and edit polygons. Okay, we can add a variety of different elements to our map, including points or place marks, polygons, and paths. And as we add elements to our map, those elements are saved automatically by Google Earth over here in the Places panel. And if you have a lot of different elements on your map, this Places panel can get pretty busy and messy. And so we organize it by creating folders. And here I already have a number of folders that I have created to keep my elements organized. And so creating a folder is very simple. Just scroll over the area that says My Places and right click and then say Add Folder. And so here you're going to go ahead and give your folder a name. I'll call this the Bellamy River Wildlife Management Area. And we want to keep this box checked that says allow this folder to be expanded. And we'll click OK. And so now we have a folder that's in here. And for this project, I want all of the elements that we create to be organized and stored within that folder. And so in this tutorial, we'll learn how to add polygons. And polygons are basically closed shapes that you can measure the perimeter and the area of. So the first thing that you would want to do is determine what you want to draw a polygon around. And perhaps maybe what we will do is we will draw a polygon around the edge of this field so we can map and calculate the area of that field. And so when I'm doing mapping, we can do it at any scale, but our ability to accurately map this field when the photo is zoomed out so far is going to be pretty limited. So anytime I'm doing mapping, I try to get as close as I possibly can to make it as easy as I can on myself. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll draw a polygon around this field to map it and calculate its acreage. So before that we do that, we want to come over here and be sure that our folder is selected, because whatever folder is selected here in the Places panel is where the element that we create is going to be stored. So we make sure that our Bellamy River WMA folder is selected. We'll come up to here where it says Add Polygon, and we'll click that. Now a dialog box pops up. And one of the first things that you want to do is you want to give your polygon or your element a name that's easily identifiable and recognizable, so it's easy to keep track of what you have for elements over here in your places. So we're going to map this field, so I'm just going to call this field A. Now you will be tempted to click OK at this point. Don't do that. You want to don't click OK until your polygon has been drawn completely. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to actually start right at this little trail. And I'm basically going to, I'm going to click to start and it drops a point. And then I am going to come over here and click again. And I am just clicking and releasing where I want to have the edge of this polygon drawn. And so I did this on purpose. Immediately as this polygon is drawn, you can see that the polygon is beginning to fill itself. And as we come around this corner, we can see that that's not super convenient, because now I can no longer see the edge of the field. So as a general rule, when I'm doing mapping, I like to have the polygons open or empty so I can see through them. So the way that we change how the polygons are displayed is by coming here in the dialog box into the style and color. And so here is where we determine whether that polygon is going to be filled or if it's just going to be outlined. Right now it is selected as filled and outlined, and so the line color is white and the area color is white. I just want this to be outlined. So I'll click this. And so now that I just have a line. This white line is difficult for me to see, and so I want to go ahead and change the color. And so I click the color, and then I can choose what color I want to have displayed. I like nice bright colors that easily contrast with the photo, so they're easy to see. So I'll choose yellow. And that's a relatively thin line. That might be difficult to see. So I'll go ahead and increase the width, and I can do that with these buttons. And as I click the buttons, the line width changes, or I can just type a value in here. 3.0 is the line width that I typically use for mapping. Now again, if I click OK right now, it's going to shut this off. So don't click OK until your polygon is done. So go ahead and continue to we'll map around the edge of this field. And one trick here to make it a little bit easier is that we have these tall trees that are actually growing over the field. And so these trees are actually overhanging the field edge with these big canopies. And I can't see through those canopies to see exactly where the edge of the field is. And that's especially true over here, where the sunlight is coming from the south, and these trees are casting shade into this field. And I can't accurately see the edge of the field there. So this, again, is where Google Earth is super handy. I'm going to come up to my clock tool. I'll move this dialog box out of my way. And I am going to scroll back until I find a leaf-off photo. There we go. And so now I can see through the canopies of these trees and tree saplings to more accurately see the edge of the field. And then I'm going to continue to work my way around. And here I'm just, again, clicking and releasing, clicking and releasing. Another way to draw these lines is to actually hold down your mouse and to draw like this. There may be times where that's convenient, but here, whoop, I slipped. That can be difficult to correct those errors, primarily because as I hold the mouse down, it's dropping in all of these individual vertices. And to make a change by hitting the delete button, I have to delete every single one of those individually. And that can take a while, especially if later I change my mind and want to edit this polygon. And so as a general rule, I think it's actually more accurate and it's easier to edit your polygon if you don't hold the mouse button down. So again, I'm just clicking and releasing, clicking and releasing. And if I wanted to be able to see an area a little bit better, I can come over, I can actually move the map by using these buttons. At this point, I can't drag the screen, because when I do, it's going to drop a vertex in. And so again, I'm just going to hit delete to get rid of that one and continue. But again, maybe I want to zoom in a little bit better or zoom out. I can do that while I am mapping here. And so I'm going to zoom way in, and then I'm going to scroll over and then continue to map. Okay. So now with our polygon drawn, now that our polygon is drawn, we can go ahead and click OK. And so that polygon is now saved in my places. And if I were to shut Google Earth off and open it back up, that element will continue to be saved there in my places, in my files. Okay, so now that that polygon is drawn, we can do a number of things with it. First of all, maybe we want to see what is the size of that field. And so we can, if we come over here and again, we right click and then come down to properties. And again, on a Mac, I believe this might be preferences. We can open this up. And when we open up that polygon, it's now editable. All the vertices that we laid in there from all of the different mouse clicks show up. and they can be edited. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But to determine how large this field is, we come over here to the measurements tab. And so we can calculate the perimeter, the length of the perimeter of this polygon, and we can also calculate the area. And so here, I don't want this in square miles. I want to know how many acres this was. So this field is 13 acres, or we could do it in square meters, but I think most folks will probably calculate it in acres. And again, we can also change this as feet or yards, however you want to do it. And we can click OK. If we decide that we want to edit what this polygon looks like, similarly, we can right-click and open Properties, and we can come back into the style. Maybe we want this to be green. That's fine. We can turn that into green. Maybe we want this to be super thick line. We'll hit 8, very thick. I don't like 8. I want it to be 3. We'll keep it like that. I'm going to change it back to yellow. When I'm mapping habitats, this is just a personal preference. I like to just have the habitats outlined, and I like to be able to see the photo within the polygon, because that just allows me to more accurately assess from the map what the habitat looks like. But maybe you decide that you would like to have that filled. That's totally fine. That's your preference. We'll come here to Properties again and come to Style and Color. And instead of outlined, we can say filled and outlined. And so here, when filled and outlined, it's outlined in yellow, and we could have it be filled in yellow as well. Or maybe we want to have this filled in a different color, like say orange. Come back here. We can also change whether the opacity, the degree to which we can see through this polygon. And again, we can scroll in and out, so the polygon color can be somewhat transparent or entirely transparent. So you can adjust that as well. So here, maybe we just have a polygon that has a slight tinge to it. For now, I'm just going to come back, and I am just going to not have this filled at all. I just want it outlined, and I'll click OK. Now maybe you decided that you actually want to edit this polygon, and instead of just mapping this field, you've decided that, man, you actually wanted to include this field as well. So you could redraw this entire thing if you wanted to, but let's just go ahead and edit this existing polygon so that it now incorporates this field. So right-click and hit Preferences. And again, when all the vertices are shown, they are now editable. So I'm going to scroll in here a little bit. So again, we can grab any one of these vertices and we can move it. So in this case here, I might start with these, and I can grab any one of these and move them kind of where I want to. So again, we can drag these vertices, or we can add new vertices just by clicking. But again, watch when I click here. I always have to go back and remember which side of the vertex I need to be on. So in order for me to add a new vertex here without it pulling from the wrong side, I need to come here, and with my finger pointed, I'm just going to click that vertex. So that's now the active vertex. And now I can come back here and I can add new vertices. Whoop. And I'm just going to hit delete. I'll just start from this side. Pull this one down. Go like this. And we can click around. And I'm done with that. We can come back here to see how big the field is. And so that added a number of acres to the field. So now the field is 21.8 acres, and we can click OK. So now that's saved. So anytime that I've used historical imagery for my habitat mapping, I always like to go back and just compare it to the most recent photo to be sure that there isn't anything drastic that has changed, because again, I mapped this field using a 2016 photo, and at least in this case, the field hasn't changed enough for that to be an issue, so that's okay. But it's always good to just double check. If you're mapping current habitat conditions, be sure it makes what you've mapped makes sense on the most recent photo. Okay, let's add another polygon. Let's go ahead and map and measure the area of this pond. So I'm going to scroll in here, zoom in so I can see this pond well, make this as easy as possible for myself. I am going to just check the most current photo just to be sure that the area of this pond hasn't changed. That can happen if a pond is influenced by beavers. Can be drastic differences in the size of a pond from one year to another if the beavers are controlling it, but this is actually dammed, so this looks just fine. And then I'm going to come over and just click on my Bellamy folder to be sure that that's where my new polygon gets added, and I'm going to click Add Polygon. Here I'm just going to title this Pond. I'm going to come to my Style and Color, and I want my pond edge to be blue. Click OK, and then I'll go ahead and delineate the pond. Again, here I just kind of made a little mistake, so I'm just grabbing this vertex and I'm just moving it. And then I'll a couple more clicks. All right, this one I'll just pull out a little bit. There. And so that pond is about 1.4 acres in size. And I'll click OK. Okay, so now let's add one final polygon and we'll map this softwood stand. And so again, here having the leaf off photo makes this so much easier. It would be very difficult to map that accurately using the leaf on photo. So I'm going to come to the leaf off photo, going to zoom in again to a good extent so it's easy to see. Click my Bellamy folder. I click my Add Polygon, and I'm going to call this Conifer. Come to my style. I want this to be green. I'll click OK. Start here. All right, here I have a decision to make, and I'm going to go ahead and include all of these conifers into this stand. So I'm going to come down here a little bit and zoom in. And this actually is going to show one of the downfalls of Google Earth, in that if you are using a higher end mapping program, you can actually snap these lines so they don't overlap one another and there's no space, and so they display perfectly parallel to one another. You can't do that in Google Earth. So again, it's free software, so you get what you pay for, but still a fantastic program. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to overlap these as perfectly as I can. So this takes a little bit of time, and so I made a mistake right there. I accidentally hit that. So I'm just going to hit delete, and I'm going to watch those vertices delete themselves. Again, whoops, just delete. And here I actually see that I inaccurately mapped the edge of that pond, so I'll come back and fix that, but I'm going to map the edge of this softwood stand. And here the pond and the softwoods are going to overlap, so I'll zoom in. And that conifer stand is 3.1 acres. I'll click OK. Again, I'll come back over here to the pond, zoom in. I want to edit this area of the pond so it extends out. So I can either come over to the pond, right click and hit properties, or also I could just mouse over the edge of that Polygon and right click and then hit properties. And so here I'm just going to pull these vertices back, overlap them. So there is our very rough mapping of 3 different habitats: our field, our pond, and our conifer stand. So now once those are created, we can shut these on or off individually. Or if we have a lot of elements within a folder and we want the entire folder off, we can shut the entire folder off, on or off. And then we can select individual ones to bring back in. If you decide that you didn't want one of these and you wanted to delete it entirely, you can right click it and hit delete. And it's going to ask you one time, are you sure you want to delete this? If you click OK, there's no getting it back. There's no undo function in Google Earth. So my suggestion is that if you don't want something on your map, if you aren't entirely sure you want it gone forever, just shut it off. And so that's how to add a folder and add and edit polygons.